do is I want you to take out your notebooks, as always, so we can get started on our do now. And what I want you to do is look at this number and tell me what you think this number represents. What do you think it means? It's an extremely large number, but I don't want you to give random guesses. I want you to continue to think about what we've been discussing this entire week, what's been the theme, what's been the topic, and take a guess at what that number means. I'll give you a hint. It's not how much money I've spent on shoes this year, just in case. I know you were wondering. But take a quick guess, jot something down, and then we will go over it and we will discuss it. Okay, so let's get started. Anyone want to take a guess at what they think this number represents? Ashley? No, it is not how much money the government spent on the military, but that was a great guess. Somebody else? Jonathan? No, it's not how much money we spend on Social Security, but I'm glad that you guys are thinking about the topics. You are thinking about everything that we've been discussing in this class, and so your answers are great guesses. Somebody else want to take a shot? Steven? It is good. It's how much money the country is in debt. This number, this huge number, is our national debt. This number, which is even hard to pronounce, is how much money we are in debt. Anyone want to take a try at how to pronounce this extremely long number? Okay, good. John? Okay, 18 trillion, good. 456 million, 798,678. Awesome. $18 trillion. Yes, Jessica. I'm glad you asked that. Why is the number so high? I'm glad you asked because that's also what I asked you guys. Why is the government in $18 trillion of debt? And that is exactly the question that we're going to explore today. Where is their money going? Why are they in so much debt? How is that even possible? And so I wanted to share some information with you. Did you know that if we were to split up how much money the government owes, 16 to 18 trillion dollars, if we were to split that up within the 3 million people that live in this country, each of us would owe $54,000 to $56,000. Millions of people, 300 million people, if we were to divide that, each of us would have to owe that much money. Also, this number, our national debt, has continued to increase, grow larger in numbers since 2012, September 30th, 2012, this number has increased by $2.6 billion. And so when we hear this amount of money, trillions of dollars, 18 trillion, it's really hard to imagine what that looks like, right? We can imagine what $1,000 looks like. We could imagine what 100,000. But once we get to the millions, that number seems very high. And so what I've done is I found this video on YouTube that I want to share with you. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but it gives you a good visual of what $16 trillion looks like, just so that we can get a sense of how much money that really is.
On September 4th, 2012, the U.S. national debt reached $16 trillion. This is a very large number, and it's very difficult to wrap your head around, much like the number of stars in the scale of the universe. The best way to understand it is to visualize it. Let's start small. This is $50,000, roughly the U.S. median household income. It doesn't take up too much space, and you could easily carry it around in your pockets. This is $1 million in $100 bills. It weighs about 22 pounds and can easily be carried around in a duffel bag. If you're careful and you invest reasonably, you can live comfortably off of this for a very long time. This is what $100 million looks like. It weighs just over a ton and will fit on the back of a pickup truck. You should be set for life, although people have won this amount in the lottery or close to it and managed to lose it all. This is 100 million in gold. It's about 1.5 feet cube and weighs about 4 tons, more than a car. You see, Gold is very dense. Even a small looking amount has some significant weight to it. This is $10 billion. It's 100 times more than $100 million. You'll need a truck or two to move it. In gold, it's about 400 tons. Due to this weight, you would need about 10 trucks to move the gold. This is $16 trillion in $100 bills. This is our national debt. You couldn't spend this if you tried. If you were to earn $10,000 per second,
okay,
it would take over 50
years. So right there, we were able to see what $16 trillion looks like. Any comments about that? Right, it is a lot of money, a lot of money. And so we need to know, why is this so much money? So I have found this website online. It's called zfacts.com, and what it is it just shows you how quickly the national debt increases. So even as I'm talking to you, we get to see that the number is continuing to increase, and it's even higher than the amount that I showed you guys earlier this morning. It rises so quickly that the number continues to go up, and there's never really a steady number of the national debt. Now, why does this number, again, continue to increase? So if we move on, we get to talk about this and discuss why. So first thing we need to know is that our debt is increasing because of where we spend our money. Here's a chart that I found for you guys. The government winds up posting charts and graphs on their website for them to be able to share the information with us. Now, if you look here, this is our spending: military, education, housing, internal affairs, energy and environment, and transportation. Now, this section here where you see mandatory spending, and that number is at $2.56 trillion. That means that it is inevitable. The government has to spend that amount of money every single year. Why? Where is that money going to? Things like Medicare and health, Social Security, food assistance, and unemployment. In our government, we have laws and programs that are embedded, thanks to the New Deal with FDR, that we provide this money for people that are in need. Now, we've heard the government discussing, hey, if there are ways that we were going to cut back, ways that we were going to limit spending, it would be from these areas. Because for Medicare and healthcare, it's almost $999 billion. Social Security, $900 billion. Large amounts of money are being spent on these mandatory spending programs. Other things that we need to know. How do we determine if the government is in a deficit or if the government is in a surplus? So there are two vocabulary words that I want you guys to copy in your notebook. As always, everything that is in red is what you should copy. So first one, budget deficit, occurs in any year when the expenditures exceeds revenue. In other words, what does that mean? The government spends more than they make. They're in a deficit because they spend more than they make. Other one, budget surplus, occurs in any year when revenue exceeds expenditures. And again, in other words, what does this mean? The government takes in more than they spend. They are actually keeping on to more money than they make. Next thing that I want to discuss with you guys, let's move on. There are two ways that we could fix this problem. Everyone always says, well, if we're in debt, why don't we just spend more money? I mean, why don't we just make more money? And that's a great thing. Why don't we just make more money? We definitely could. We could pay off more people. But anyone ever heard of something called inflation? Good, you've heard of it. Anyone want to tell me what it is? Right, where the value of money drops. And so there's too much money being circulated in the government, and so its value drops. And so we could create more money, but that would create inflation, and that in turn would actually hurt us and the government. Now, a second thing that we can do besides making more money is borrow money. And this strategy is the government's favorite. We have borrowed trillions of dollars from countries. We owe countries so much money because this is our way of trying to make up for our lack of money. Now, there are many countries that we owe money to because we have borrowed. Anyone want to guess which countries we owe money to? Yes, Stephanie? China, definitely we owe money to China. Somebody else? Yep. Russia, we definitely owe money to Russia. Someone back there? Japan, we definitely owe money to Japan. Good. So you guys already know. Here's some other areas though. We owe money to Japan, like you said, Luxembourg, we owe money to Belgium, Russia, Switzerland, China, Hong Kong, because their economies are actually separate. So we owe money to both. How funny is that? Brazil, Taiwan. Now, if we were to look at other countries' debt, how does the United States measure up? We hear $18 trillion and it's like, man, that's a lot of money. But how do other countries look? Well, on this chart, here's the United States. But if you look, Japan is actually in the most debt. Anyone want to take a guess as to why their debt is so high? Exactly, World War II, dropping the bombs on their two cities. It was so much money to start over, so much money to get these communities back on their feet. And so Japan had to borrow a lot of money, accept aid from a lot of countries just so that they can rebuild. Other countries would be Italy, Belgium, France, and in the news today, does anyone know what country we've been hearing a lot about? Greece, excellent. And so Greece in the future would also be put on this chart because we know that their economy is not doing well either. Now, question to you guys. Do you think the United States will ever get out of debt? Is it possible? Are they too far gone? Yes. You think that they will? Okay, tell me why. Okay, you think that they will because they just need to get a handle on their spending, that if they were to cut back on certain areas that aren't important. Okay, good. Somebody else? You don't think so. Tell me why. Okay, because it's just the way it is. And you, oh, all right, so the government's just been in a routine and you don't really think that they care about getting out of debt. That's an interesting approach. Now, what I want you guys to do is look at this chart. You're going to wind up getting into your activities. This is what the government has proposed for their spending for 2014. You're going to get into your groups and you're going to come up with your own chart. If you were on the president's financial team, how would you help this budget? How would you work it out so that the government could actually try to get out of debt? And so this chart just gives us a glimpse of where they spend their money. Percentages: Medicare, healthcare, Social Security, government, science, energy, education, military, debt. And so what I want you to do is I want you to study this, but then you're going to get into groups and you're going to read through this activity. Your groups are going to be of people of 2 to 3. I'm going to give you a worksheet that looks like this, and you are going to, with rulers and pens and pencils, you guys are going to come up with a budget for 2015. If you could come up with a budget eliminating areas, however, the catch is you cannot take away from Medicare and healthcare and Social Security. Why? Because those are mandatory spendings. And so that amount of money currently right now, these two percentages must remain the same. So it makes it difficult. And I want you to figure out, determine where you would cut back spending, and you're going to tell me why. I'm going to walk around. I'll ask you guys questions. I'll check up on your groups. But that is currently your assignment. I want you to get into the groups of 2 to 3 with the person right next to you, as we've always done. Don't go crossing the aisles. The person right next to you, and I'm going to give you your worksheets. Start brainstorming, and do not forget to explain on the back of that paper why you made the choices that you did. You're going to write a detailed response. We reduced from here because. We increased here because. What areas don't you find important? What areas you think are very important? And then we'll regroup as an entire class and we'll discuss the thing completely.